Hello everyone. Today we are going to be talking about International Youth Day. We are here with a bunch of super cool young people from this project that we are doing together called DecontRamination. It's a project between Ljubljana Pride and Loesje Berlin. And we have a training right now, so we're hanging out for the whole week in Ljubljana, and we took some time to discuss the Youth Day 2021 and share a little bit our opinions on the topic and also connecting it to our project. The DecontRamination project is a project that tackles hate speech, especially in public spaces, and we do these commemoration days where we plan an activity around a specific international day, and we address the hate speech that's connected to this topic and broader, and maybe for a little more context, today's Youth Day is about transforming food system. This is the theme of this year's International Youth Day, and I will just quote from this page un.org that kind of a lot of times come up with these international commemoration days. So the theme is transforming food systems, as I said, youth innovation for human and planetary health, with the aim of highlighting that the success of such a global effort will not be achieved without the meaningful participation of young people. It has been acknowledged that there is a need for inclusive support mechanisms that ensure youth continue to amplify efforts collectively and individually to restore the planet and protect life, while integrating biodiversity in the transformation of food systems. With the world's population expected to increase by 2 billion people in the next 30 years, it has become recognized by numerous stakeholders that simply producing a larger volume of healthier food more sustainably will not ensure human and planetary well-being. Other crucial challenges must also be addressed, such as the interlinkages embodied by the 2030 agenda, including poverty reduction, social inclusion, healthcare, biodiversity conversation, and climate change mitigation. So today we're going to try to tackle this topic a little bit more broadly and connect it to our realities. And before we go into that, I would maybe like to ask each and every one person that is joining here to introduce themselves quickly, and just to say this is not the whole team that's with us this week, and we want to also thank you everyone that's not participating in this podcast for contributing still their their knowledge and their experience and their energy to this. So thank you everyone for participating and being a part of this project. And the people that we have here now in the room, please tell us your name, how old are you, what pronouns do you use, where do you come from, and maybe one little thing about yourself that I don't know yet, for example.
Hello there, I'm Drina and I use the pronouns she or they. I'm 22 years old and I come from Ljubljana.
Hello, I'm Samuel, go by Sam. I use he pronouns. I'm originally from California, but coming from Berlin with Loesje Berlin.
Hello everybody, my name is Paco, I'm 32 years old. I use the pronoun he, and I'm originally from Italy, but I come from Berlin with Loesje Berlin.
Hi there, I'm Josie. I use he and she pronouns. I'm 29 years old, from Berlin, with Loesje Berlin, and I'm a vegan.
Thank you, everyone. And my name is Katja, and I use pronoun she. I am from Ljubljana Pride, and I will be, as you probably guessed by now, moderating this conversation. And why don't we jump right in? So before going into this topic of, that's really connected to environmentalism, I want to ask on your opinions about how is actually environmentalism or this, environmental movements connected to other movements. For example, coming from my perspective to LGBTIQ plus activism and other kind of activisms that, that address human rights in a broader sense.
I think there's a big activism overlap. Like if you start caring for one thing, you'll start caring for another because you see more. And especially with LGBTIQ, it's like something that targets you. Like you don't choose to be, if you're queer, you don't choose to be an activist in that sense, as you have to be one, an advocate for yourself. And so when you see that you are targeted for one thing, you start seeing that other people are targeted for other things and so on and so on. And I think it just brings you to the broader picture of also like the whole environment, because you're an environment activist, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Like if you're, for example, growing up queer, you don't have a choice but better understanding other oppressed groups or, other types of oppression. And I guess we just want to help and protect others and fight for what is right. What about the others? What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because when being marginalized, no matter if it's LGBT or people of color, there's certain rights that you don't have access to. So people can connect by understanding that these are all movements, just that people are just trying to obtain equal rights to have access to certain things that we have that, some have a way easier access than others. So connecting that way is how all of these movements connect. And when it comes to the environment, well, we're seeing a lot of destruction happening and a lot of changes happening to the environment that also affect these communities. They tend to be the first to feel the effects of these changes. So it comes hand in hand and they come together.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. And actually, how does this climate change affect, marginalized communities?
Well, there's several ways, I think, because the first and maybe most obvious thing is that not everyone is safe everywhere. Like if you're part of a marginalized group, you have a safe space, and that can be your country, that can be like a specific place in your city, that can be anything. And if that place is lost due to climate change and you have to go to another country, another continent even, you might not easily find a safe space for you there. You might be confronted with homophobia, you might be confronted with racism, all these stuff. So, which like maybe people who come from a more privileged background do not see, because they can go everywhere without suffering any bad consequences. And the second thing is that marginalized groups often have little power and little money, and so they might not have the means to just travel somewhere else, to just move somewhere else.
I think also, sometimes for example, I grew up in a community in Huntington Beach, California, where it was a predominantly Mexican American community with a lot of a migrant background. And so right next to this community, they created a landfill where all the trash of the city and nearby cities was going there. And the people in that community, because of migrant background and many other factors, they never really had a say where or why it was okay to build that landfill there. And as the landfill got bigger and more trash decomposing there, the fumes being created, the first people that felt those effects was that community living right next to it. So it was younger people having, higher levels of disease, or having more asthma issues, having different kinds of health issues. And because of the different factors happening, this community, and not having so much involvement in the politics of the city, were being oppressed and feeling those effects, those environmental effects happening there, and they couldn't really do anything. It was then the younger generations that grew up in that community and also get to know the local environment that really are now kind of pushing and trying to create change. So there's changes happening.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, socially vulnerable groups are often like the hidden victims of climate change, right? So, and I think it's important to point out that, this is why environmental protection applies to all of us, affects us all. And even maybe if you don't think about it so often, you would ask yourself, like, why are we talking about this topic if we're actually mostly, doing activism in another field? And I think this is why, and it's important to point out. So this is, after all, International Youth Day, and I think that young people have really been in the front lines of the environmentalism fight for quite some time now. And I want to ask you, what role do young people have in human and planetary health?
I think that the role of young people, young generations, in the good health of the planet, let's say like this, is absolutely fundamental. We somehow, I think we can say that one of the strongest forces in history in general is the fight between the younger generation who wants to change the wrong things that an older generation made. And of course, we also are living an event like this now. Unfortunately, we are a generation who has inherited a seriously wounded planet. And so our role is a moral role, is a factual role that we need to act for a better general health of the environment. Many so-called experts, they said, okay, it's too late, scientists say it's too late, so in the next few years we will have strong disasters, catastrophes, climate changes, everything will change and will be much more complicated. But I don't know what to think about it, because I'm not an expert on the field. I somehow can say in my surrounding, with my colleagues, with other youth works, with the organizations and all the activists, that something is happening, a change is happening. And maybe, okay, we don't have the the power of a great factory that has a strong impact on the environment, but we can do a lot of little things. And maybe we are not perfect, we can do some wrong, but if we start working slowly, a lot of little actions can create a great impact. So I think that plus, beside that, our role is to sensibilize, to raise awareness, to diffuse in the population in general the danger that we are and the urge of intervent that we need to have. So yeah, I think it's a fundamental role.
Yeah, first of all, I think that young people shouldn't have to play that big a role as they do now, and as they do have to play now, because it should be up to the adults to leave a good earth for everyone and to take care of that. But they didn't do that. They do not do that. And so first and foremost of all, I want to thank all the young activists that are doing so much work. And I want to tell everyone, like, you are doing enough. You shouldn't have to do this. And like, it's great that you do. Thank you now. And like, you will thank yourself later, I guess. So I want to disagree with Paco on one thing. Scientists don't actually say it's too late yet, but what they are saying is we won't have it easy now. We have to take more serious and drastic measures now than if we would have listened from the start. If we would have started in the, say, 70s or 80s to minimize our output on the environment, then it could have all gone way smoother. But now we have to go like to more drastic measures to keep the temperature down and all that. And yes, so in the end my answer is the young generation has to do that much because they inherit the earth that the older generations left them, and they didn't leave it very intact or livable.
And maybe that's the reason that young environmental activists piss off older people so much, or what it is, because I've noticed I think one very visible example that everyone kind of knows about is Greta, that is a very young person that became almost like a face of this environmentalist revolution for a while, and I noticed she got a lot of backlash, a lot from older people, from older men. She got targeted with hate speech, criticized by the media, and I'm interested about what do you think? Why is that? Why do this? Because this is not just about Greta; it's broader. I think we get criticized a lot that we're kind of, I don't know, hypocrites, or that we're this like privileged young people that are just playing activism and actually not know what we talk about. We're being discredited a lot. And why do you think that happens?
I think that now that we are calling out the older generation, they feel a power shift. Because it's our parents, it's our grandparents, it's the people who used to tell us our lives, like, you're not doing it right, you have to change your behavior, you have to change this and that. Now all of a sudden it's us to tell them, like, oh, you have to change, also like what you eat, for example. You have to save the planet now, and like we're calling them out and they're not used to that. They're like, no, older people have to speak down to younger people. It can't be like the other way around, and think that's how many people see it, as being called out, as being talked down to. And so they are getting defensive now. And they say this stuff like, what do the children know? Like for them, like all the young people are just children. What do they know? And I think they highly underestimate how much like teenagers really read up on that stuff, like Greta Thunberg. And and it's also that feeling of not wanting to be the bad guy, because no one wants to be like the one to blame. And they're like, no, we lived like this our whole lives. Why can't you just go on, live your life like we did, without like maybe realizing that it's not working?
I would also add that the people getting upset or that are criticizing the most tend to be people that are in positions of power and are or have positions of power within systems that they don't want to give up or dismantle. And in a way, young environmental activists, they don't have, because they're so young, maybe they don't have as much to lose, but they have everything to lose in regards to the world, the planet, like where they can have their future, live their future. So that's why I think also we're seeing young people become more involved because they really have nothing to lose within these powers or systems of power, but they have everything to lose because it's our planet and we're all connected to it as well.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to wrap it up. It's at the end of the day, this is our home, right? And we all live on this planet, so this also connects to my next question, because we are, after all, researching a lot on how to deal with hate speech, and hate directed to different groups, and I want you to share maybe how to react to this. What is the best strategy to transform this hate into something constructive or even positive? How and at the same time, how not to get burned out, and how not to get too much affected. After all, if you're a young person experiencing this hate from maybe older generations that still have some power over you, it's not easy to navigate this. So what are your suggestions on this? What are your tips?
Maybe a way to intervene in this attempt to marginalize or reduce the importance of activism. For sure, in this specific moment where we live, social media actions for sure can have a strong impact on the diffusion of messages. Unfortunately, they can have in both sides, of course, but the good use of social media is a tool that we can really use to spread the positive messages and reach a larger amount of people that maybe a few years ago was harder to reach for many reasons. So this is something for sure that we can work and we can contribute to also make it cleaner at least, and to have, say, a more meaningful and impactful communication. And again, of course, we don't have the power of reaching the same number of audience of super high brand spot, so it's not that the point. But the few audience that we can reach, few I mean in large, when we talk about larger scale, of course, we have the power to influence this audience. And again, that's what I think. I think step by step, again, we can make it valuable.
Yeah, I want to stress again that if you are doing any form of activism as a young person, you are already doing enough. Don't pressure yourself. Don't think, oh, I have to do this now and that also, because you learn so much of what's going wrong and you try to fix it all at once and all in yourself. That's not possible. Perfection can never be the goal, because it is not possible. And activism burnout is a very real thing, where you just try to load all the weight of the world on your shoulders and you try to fix it, and you will never succeed, and then you might give up altogether. Just end everything you're doing. And that's not good. That's not what we want. So keep doing what you do and do it as best as you can, but don't push yourself over your limits. You are doing enough. We just need more people to do something. We don't need a few people who do it all perfectly, who are this super eco-friendly vegans who don't use plastic and, I don't know, only shower cold and once a week, and everything. They try to fix everything in themselves. They will not be happy, and they will not be inviting other people to, or they will not look inviting to other people to do the same. We need more people who do things imperfectly, but who are taking necessary and good steps in the right direction and meaningful steps, and to invite other people in to also take some of these steps. And that's how we can really have big time change.
Yeah, and one thing that I would like to add is, just like Josie was saying, we can't do it all by ourselves. Remember that there's more power in numbers. So just, continue looking for your allies, and keep getting more people involved, because we do make a difference when we're all together and work together. Just don't burn yourself out being alone. There's people around that also care, and it's finding that community and working together.
That's very beautifully put, and you already turned this into a positive moment already now in this little conversation that we had. So thank you so much, and maybe I would add another little thing that I've learned in this project, and I think it's very useful. It helps me keep on the right track when it comes to tackling backlash that comes from doing this kind of things. And this is always stating what am I for, not what am I against, because it's fighting one-on-one can take so much energy sometimes, and sometimes it's enough for us to just defend human rights and planetary health, and all of these positive things that we believe in, and not to go and answer every single comment, and we have to pick our battles, and sometimes just putting a fresh perspective out there and an alternative opinion can really make a difference. So thank you all of you for this. It was very inspiring, and I think that our listeners will also find this very inspiring. And I would like to also invite anyone who is listening to this to maybe comment, what are your thoughts, what are your advices, what are your experiences, and let's stay strong together, and let's make this world a better place for our futures.